welcome back to our year-long celebration of Smallville. As you can tell, we're probably filming all of these in like a day or two.
Oh, yes, we certainly are. I can confirm.
Yeah, um, we just love talking about Smallville. So this is our celebration of the 20th anniversary of Smallville, the 10-year anniversary of the finale. Sadly, wish it could last forever, but like any great show, it can't. So we are here today to talk about season 8 of Smallville. Again, joining me is Pat Guy. How you doing, my cousin?
Doing good. Ready to talk about a mostly great season after it was hard to talk about season 7.
Yeah, we talked about season 7 a lot. Like that
Yeah.
was that was brutal. And immediately when season 8 begins, you already know it's immediately better.
Yeah, it feels like a different show in some ways.
Yeah.
It felt just very like a surge
It's
of
no longer Smallville, it's Metropolis.
yeah, it felt like we were actually progressing again, which was a nice feeling.
Yeah, definitely. What are your overall thoughts other than that on season 8?
Season 8 for me is 90% really good.
Yeah.
It flounders in the middle, and then it literally just shits
False
at the end.
false
Like
yeah, false
it
cloud.
just falls on its ass, and I don't know, man. Like so much of it's so good, which makes it hurt so much more.
Yeah.
I love them setting it more Metropolis. I love seeing Clark start off with the Daily Planet. I
I
love
love
him
Clark being stuck in
developing.
Russia.
What was that?
I love Clark being stuck in Russia.
Yeah, I love seeing him develop like not Superman, but like a persona of the red blue blur. Like
Yeah,
I love all
finally.
that. Yeah, like I love that we feel like we're going towards him eventually becoming Superman. And then while that's happening, you got like the Doomsday storyline, which on paper initially sounded like it was gonna suck.
Yeah, it's a
They were like, "Oh yeah, there's this guy. He's gonna be Davis Bloom. He's gonna be a bartender, and
it's
he's
an
also gonna be
EMT.
Doomsday." Well, yeah, they eventually turned him into an EMT, which made more sense. But the way they handled that was it like
For the
Sam
most.
Witwer in general played it amazingly well.
Yeah, Sam
Uh,
Witwer's amazing.
but Doomsday in general, like the whole Davis thing was one of the highlights of the show for me until towards the end. Like they took that character who in the comics is literally just destroy, destroy, destroy. There's not much to him. Um, they gave him like a very deep like struggle, like kind of a Hulkish struggle.
Yeah,
But if the
yeah.
Hulk was more of like you're not like the Hulk causes destruction, sure, but like Doomsday was like the way Davis had to try to keep him at bay was to pretty much become a serial killer, which like it was really interesting and really well handled until they just threw it all away at the end.
Well, here's my thing. It's sad that a TV show in the mid 2000s has better visual effects for Doomsday than a movie featuring Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, where they all fight Doomsday at the end
Yeah.
from 2016.
Well, what was smart that they also kind of threw away is the first times you see Doomsday, he's mostly kept in shadow.
Yeah,
You see enough of him to tell that it's Doomsday, and the way it's shot, like it's
I think I,
scary.
I think they did it brilliantly though, because they do that, and then you have the mid-season finale where he actually shows up. So it's like holy shit,
Well,
like
he
I
shows up, but he's still in shadow. He's
yeah
still yeah.
yeah.
The only
Like
time they
you
really
see
show him is at the end.
you see enough of him though
Yeah,
when he
exactly.
shows up in Bride. So it's like I think you had him mostly in the shadows, and then you see like a good chunk of him in Bride. But then like I feel like once you get to Bride and you see like that chunk of him, it's like it's huge payoff, man.
Yeah, it was way cooler looking than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
But like by the time you get to him fighting Clark in the street in the finale, they don't even try to hide him. It doesn't look as good. He looks like
Yeah.
a guy like he looks like what he is, which is a big dude in a prosthetic suit. And they did a better job earlier on, like kind of shooting him in a way that made him look scary.
Yeah.
But then in that finale, he just feels like a Power Rangers villain or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the finale like ruins
Well,
everything. Well,
yeah,
the thing is too is like even with 7, I mean, you could say it from like 5, I guess, in a way 6, 7 sort of, I guess. 8, 9 and 10 especially though. Like how like because we're progressing Clark towards like further to becoming like Superman. Like I love how he's facing these like classic like Superman villains and these like iconic Superman villains when he's not Superman.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that's
it's a smart idea to bring Superman villains into the fray, and then I think ending the show with Doomsday, uh, Zod,
Zod.
and Darkseid, like three of the most iconic Superman
Well, I
villains.
mean, even before that, if you count season 7, you got both Bizarro and Brainiac.
Yeah, and then I mean, you can also just look at too as like season 7 is like Lex is the villain too because it's almost like it's like all of his arch enemies like in the last few seasons of Smallville, and I think that's what makes it so much better too. Is it's like because I think you're so used to like seeing Superman just fight these villains when he's already Superman, but like I think adding the extra dynamic of like bringing these villains in when he's not Superman, when he's still acting as like Clark, and but we're progressing now further towards Super.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it worked very well.
I think you're right. I think, because those types of characters, those types of villains are a bigger scale than what Smallville Clark usually has to fight. So
Yeah,
it's like the last few obstacles he has to overcome to be Superman is to beat Superman level threats. So I think you're
before
absolutely right.
trials.
um, yeah, I mean, Doomsday, you had a tall order though, because at the end of season 7, the original creators left,
There,
Lex left,
I
Lana left.
I think it would have been worse if it was just like they brought in like create like showrunners from like outside of like the show. You had Brian Souders and Kelly Peterson, who were already with the show. I don't know from the beginning, but I know that they came on eventually.
Pretty
And then you
early,
had
yeah.
Todd Slavkin and David Schwimmer or whatever the hell his last name is. So like those four are now running the show. I feel like they had a better grasp as to where things needed to go because I feel like if Alfred Goff and Miles Millar were still with season 8, they'd be like, Clark just moping around, throwing a baseball against the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, Lana left Smallville.
Mm.
You know?
No, I mean, it was smart too because they brought in Davis, who was an interesting character who you felt sympathy for. And then they introduced Tess Mercer, who
Yeah,
was a
I was gonna ask you,
combination of Miss Tessmacher and Mercy Graves.
Mr. Smucker!
And at first, she is kind of what you think she's going to be at first, where it's like, oh, she's the Lex replacement. She lives in Lex's mansion and she runs Lex's company and she's kind
Which
of Lex, but not.
like immediately though, like eventually, like we'll get there when we get to season 10, but like eventually, like season 10 reveals that she's a Luthor.
Right.
But it's like right from the get go, like
Red
because of
hair.
like yeah, well that, and then it's like oh she's living in the Luthor mansion. It's like why would Lex appoint this lady to just this random lady
Yeah.
that like we don't know about to
Yeah.
be like the head of like Luthor Corp and like the Daily Planet? It'd be like there's gotta I was like there has to be like some connection there, and then
Yeah.
like the red hair is the giveaway, you
Yeah.
know, because it's
Yeah,
like
it
oh
made
Lex,
sense. Yeah, it
yeah.
felt built into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tess eventually goes her own way though as a character with
I,
her.
w- I like at first I was like I never hated Tess, but like
Yeah.
because like the thing I love about Tess, especially in season 8, is that there's always that gray area with her. Like she always rides that line between good and evil. Like
Mhm.
she's somewhere like right in the middle.
Well,
Like she'll help Clark out, but it will always be for like her greater good.
right. And there's always the question mark of how much did Lex share with her? Like,
Exactly.
what does she know
Yeah.
for a while? Which it turns out
Yeah.
she does know about Clark, but
Yeah.
uh,
And then going back to my point, like I think what made me really like Tess is that like she kind of went down the same path as like Lionel, where eventually she became good, but then like I think what made it so much better was that she actually like became like a member of Justice League, like the Watchtower Brigade, as I'm going to call them. And I thought that I thought that that made her character like somebody that was just I was very mixed on, where it was just like, oh, this is just like a Lex clone. Like it's obvious it's like a replacement, and then like the more you learn about her, like later in the seasons, and the way you see how she progresses, I thought she instantly became like one of my favorite Smallville characters
yeah,
because of that.
she really grows into her own as the show goes. And I
Yeah.
think the actress Cassidy Freeman does a really good job.
Yeah, I like. I wish people who stopped watching after Lex left would just watch 8, 9, and 10.
Yeah, I mean, I think they they lean 8, 9, and 10 lean more comic booky. Like
Yeah,
there's less of a serious, like realistic tone, and it
yeah,
feels more like a comic booky type thing, which is fine because we're becoming into Superman. So
right.
I was cool with it becoming more like the comics,
Yeah,
because they like the earlier seasons you'd do like you'd introduce like Aquaman and Cyborg in a season, or you'd introduce like Green Arrow. Like they'd slowly sprinkle in people. Where these last few seasons are just like everyone and anyone we can throw in from the comics. The Wonder Twins are here. Like it gets crazy. But I'm like, oh, it's cool. I'm cool with it because Superman. It's
Yeah.
becoming more into that world.
Yeah.
And 8, I think, just the change of tone, the change of
Yeah.
scenery, everything felt fresh and new, and it felt
It's
like
what
we were
the show
progressing.
needed. It's what the show needed. And not to
Absolutely.
mention, as we said in season 7, this got moved to Fridays, so it's like, was this going to be the last
It
season?
was
Like, 'cause
supposed to die.
Friday nights are like the nights where like show like if you're on Friday, you know your show's gonna die. And like the fact that it lasted 2 more
It
seasons,
started to thrive. Season
yeah,
8,
it
all of a
did.
sudden,
Like its viewership wasn't bad for Fridays.
no, because all of a sudden it was like we're at a new place. The Clark, it's more of a Superman show. There's
Yeah,
the promise of Doomsday eventually coming. Like
yeah,
it got people hyped up, and like they were bringing in more and more things, like a Legion of Superheroes and other things that comic fans wanted to see,
yeah,
like live action versions of these characters. And
yeah.
Smallville introduced the live action version, like the first live action appearances of a hell of a lot of comic book
I
characters
know.
that
It's crazy.
now have all sorts of different versions because of like the Arrowverse or Titans or the movies.
Yeah, those
But
don't
like
get credit.
Smallville was like, yeah, Smallville's like, here's the first ever live action Aquaman.
Yeah.
Here's the first live action Cyborg.
Like
Here's the first.
people are not appreciative of how much Smallville did.
Smallville laid the groundwork for so much of superhero television right now.
Yeah.
Like so much of it. Like, and it does not get the credit it deserves for doing
Right.
it. If
Right.
Smallville hadn't been as successful as it was, Arrow never would have happened because Smallville showed that there was an audience that likes Green Arrow and
Yeah.
they are willing to tune in for that character.
Yeah.
Even if it is a different actor.
Yeah. I wish it wasn't, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
You want to do episode by episode breakdown?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I already know your thoughts on the finale, but we'll get there when we get there.
Mhm.
Well, first of all, we bump up Justin Hartley to series regular.
Yeah, I thought that was a smart decision too.
Yeah, it was.
He's a
Yeah,
great character, and I'm like, I'd love seeing more of him. So
I know. Episode 1, the premiere was called Odyssey. Great premiere.
the only thing I ever think of when I think of this premiere is that Russian guy who's like beating up Clark. He's like, where do you think you're going, Johnny Appleseed?
I love when Oliver shows up in like Russia, and then he's like talking to the guy in like Russian, I think.
Я слышал, что у вас есть лучшая игра. Турнукаренко в Руси.
Ты кто?
Мой Коннор. Иван Александров позвал меня. Он очень хорошо отзывался о вашем продукте.
Да, все лучше. А Сётр Белуга Севрюга.
What are you looking at? You got a problem with me? My presence here bothering you?
Yeah, it's starting to.
Starting to.
What do you think you're doing?
Roll with it! What's the matter? How your batteries run out?
I got a little more juice left.
Yeah, he's pretending to be like an arms dealer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the
Clark
whole.
started the truck.
Yeah, I liked the premiere because having to see how Clark, like where he ended up after the fortress like fell, and having like the portion of the Justice League trying to find him was cool. Like seeing Aquaman like again was cool. Black
Yeah.
Canary, whatever, but like Aquaman like punching out of
Martian
the ice.
Manhunter.
Martian Manhunter showing up. Yeah, it was cool. It was like holy shit! Like this feels so much
and
bigger.
then Clark gets shot with an arrow.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
by
Martian
all-
Manhunter has to bring him towards the sun, right?
Yeah, and then Martian Manhunter loses his powers. Like it's a whole thing, and
Yeah.
they started setting up that Chloe no longer had her healing powers that she had as a meteor freak, but instead she all of a sudden had like a super IQ, and you're like, oh, did Brainiac do something? Which he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it set up a lot of cool plot lines. Like then Clark, I love him showing up at the Daily Planet, and Lois is at her desk, and he's just sitting there squeaking his chair across from her, and she's like, "What the hell are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, we're gonna be neighbors, Lane." And then he like leaves, and she like turns over the name sign, and it's Clark.
I love
Kent.
when he leaves and like You just see that shot of him with like the big ass smile on his face. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I got a job,
It
bitch.
just set up like a completely new show, and I think it was great.
Yeah, thank God it did, right?
You know.
Uh, two was Plastique. That's a decent one. It's not
Yeah,
great.
I like seeing Clark's first day at the Daily Planet and like Lois's like rules to reporting, and like
Yeah.
he shows up and he's just wearing like flannel and a backpack.
Wow, big points for punctuality, Smallville. But what's with the wardrobe malfunction?
What? This is a nice shirt.
Human Resources is going to be down here any minute, and you do not want to meet them looking like brawny lumberjack. Hold on.
Hey, personal space lane, remember?
GQ here needs some roadside assistance. Let me borrow your spare. Come with me.
Don't tell me I have to wear a tie.
Always dress for success. No time for the men's room. Let's change in here.
A phone booth is not exactly
Work
private.
daylight hours, Clark. Change. Lucky for you, it's a slow news day and I was at my desk. Otherwise, you could have spent your entire career being nicknamed Farm Boy or Flannel Man. Hey, Lois. Trust me, the news game can be brutal. You do not want to bomb on your first day. Hi.
So, how do I look?
Good.
And she like pushes him into a telephone booth and has him
Thank
change.
God. Okay, thank God. I meant to mention this when we were talking about Odyssey. Thank God he's no longer wearing the blue T-shirt with the red jacket.
Just only, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. They just, like I said, it gave the show a whole new vibe.
yeah.
Putting him at the Daily Planet, and Plastique is what I forget the name of the actress, but she plays Plastique.
She's in Black Sails.
She's in Black Sails. She's pretty good in that. But yeah, she's like a kind of a whatever character, but it's a kind of a basic meteor freak type of plot.
Yeah, it's kind of like a whatever episode,
But
but it's
having Clark,
it's like a good like whatever episode.
yeah, having Clark show up in Metropolis and like save people from the bus and
He
save
saved
Tess.
didn't
Yeah,
he? Yeah,
which I like that because it was like he saved Lex from like water and he saved Tess from fire, and it was like this cool like thing. And Davis, that's his first appearance. Is
Yeah,
at that?
that's Davis's first appearance,
Yeah,
right?
and him and Chloe start to bond, and he kind of is flirting with Chloe, but it's like, Chloe, you're engaged to Jimmy, which we didn't mention, but they're engaged now.
Three is Toxic. Which one was that? I forget.
That's the one where Oliver gets poisoned, and you see his backstory on the
yeah, and then like you see like his backstory with like what's her
Tess.
name? Tess, yeah.
Yeah, which I think that I don't want to say it handled it better, but I'm totally cool with Oliver Queen's backstory being condensed to one episode of flashbacks instead of flashbacks across 5 seasons.
Dude, that's why I got like so bored with Arrow after a while. It was like, god damn, like too much like flashbacks, man.
I liked the flashbacks for a while because I liked Manu Bennett as Slade.
Yeah, I couldn't even get through those ones.
But eventually they do a whole thing on Arrow where Oliver Queen leaves the island for a while in the flashbacks and then comes back, and I'm like, this is just stupid now. Like, he's supposed to be stranded on an island, like not off in China for a year, then comes back to being stranded.
Shout out to Manu Bennett for our picture at Comic-Con.
Oh hell yeah, I love him. Manu's the best.
4 is Instinct.
With
Maxima.
Yeah, that's a kind of a whatever episode.
Yeah. Doesn't she like make Clark like fall in love with her or
Well,
something?
no, she tries to like mate with Clark because she's like an alien from a different planet. Like she's from the comics, so I'll give it a pass. But it's a weird one.
5 is Committed, which is a weird fucking one, but it's a good one.
Yeah, with
It's-
that guy
it's kinda like
kidnapping
another, like,
engaged people.
Yeah, we talked about like a Lionel like I think it was season 5. We talked about like that Lionel like Saw
Person.
episode.
Yeah.
It's sort of similar to that,
Yeah,
but it's
he's
like,
like-
this guy's like kidnapping couples and like making them take like a lie detector
Yeah,
test.
and if they lied, like, have you ever cheated on your fiance or whatever? And if they say no and they're lying, he like kills them. And then Clark and Lois pretend to be a couple, and they end up strapped to the thing.
Have you ever cheated on your fiance?
Of course not. Don't be ridiculous.
doing? You're killing him!
No. Your lies are.
Okay, I take it back then. I'm sorry. Just don't hurt him again.
Killing us. It won't take away the pain that pushed you here.
I'm doing this for you. The brokenhearted are the walking dead. Either way, I'm saving you both a lot of unnecessary pain.
Okay, crazy. This is the deal. We're not even really a couple. So this twisted test doesn't mean anything.
Next question.
Yeah.
It's a fun episode.
Yeah, it
It
is.
is weird though. It's kind of
It's very weird. 6 is Prey. I know that's a big Davis one.
Yeah, Prey's good. I like just kind of the mystery of like, because at this point in the show you're starting to realize something might be kind of up with Davis,
Yeah.
but you don't know what. And then there's murders happening, and the nightclub gets attacked by this huge monster, and Davis is there all bloody, but it's not his blood.
Yeah.
And it turns out there's a copycat meteor freak killer who turns into like shadows. It's cool. It's a cool episode.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
No,
7, Identity.
I like that one. That one's cool.
Yeah, that one's a good one.
That's the start of the red blue blur stuff because Jimmy
Yeah.
takes that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. And then Oliver dresses up like the red blue blur with the cape and the leather jacket.
I love that too, how it's kind of like a reversal of Hydro.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, oh, what was it? He's like, I forget, but he's bantering with Clark when he's dressed up. He's like, why are you complaining about last time? You got to kiss my girlfriend.
8 is Bloodline.
I like that one.
It's interesting because, like, not only does Clark get zapped to the Phantom Zone, but Lois goes with him too.
Lois goes with him, and then Kara's there.
Yeah.
And then Zod's wife Feora possesses Lois, and that leads to them revealing that that Davis is a Kryptonian experiment / child of Zod and Feora, and they kind of start to reveal what Doomsday is, and it's really cool. Like I love the explanation that Davis is a camouflage. Like
Yeah.
Doomsday can adapt, and to live on Earth, he gave himself like a human appearance, and it's
Yeah.
just a camouflage. And
Yeah.
the real Davis is Doomsday, but they forget about that by the end of the season and pull some baloney that does not make any sense with what they explained before.
Episode 9 is Abyss.
Abyss I like too, with
Yeah.
Chloe's
Dude,
mind
that's
starting
really
to-
good, huh?
Yeah. Season 8 is really good up until a certain point. But I like Chloe like losing her stuff because of Brainiac, and I always love the very end of the episode where Brainiac they try to get rid of him out of Chloe by like putting him in the fortress. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden the whole fortress turns black, and you just hear James Marsters' voice. Doomsday's coming, and I was like, oh.
Which leads perfectly into the next episode. Why is Jano Schwartz getting like the good episodes now?
Did he direct Bride?
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because 10 is Bride. Bride was like the perfect like mid-season finale, because if stuff's going right, and then it's kind of like the Red Wedding episode of Game of Thrones where it's like it's too perfect right now, and like
Yeah.
something's gotta happen, and then something happens.
Yeah, I love this episode. I love the filming like gag they have throughout it.
Like the found footage.
Yeah, and I like Clark and Lois. Lois starts to realize she might have feelings for Clark, and I love her like talking to Oliver about it.
I'm just having all these feelings and I don't know what they mean.
Oh. Well, who's the lucky guy?
Having this conversation with an ex is bad enough without turning up the awkward dial.
Well, you know, there's moving on in theory, and then there's the moment that it actually happens. If you'd like, we can start now, and I'll just be a really good friend.
Okay. It's like I was going along and it just snuck up on me. And I tried to ignore it, but then there are these moments that you can't. Maybe I was reading it wrong. And to add insult to injury, it all went down at tonight's tribute to romantic bliss. I know it sounds sappy, but I thought, just for a minute, someone needed me.
Well, I'm sure he needs you, Lois.
That's sweet of you to say, but how do you know?
Because I know Clark.
Yeah. And the only thing I don't like in the episode is Lana coming back, but like whatever.
I was fine with it for this episode, but I think it should have only been for this episode.
I just thought it was hokey when Green Arrow is like trying to assassinate Lex Luthor, and then Lana shows up and like ninja kicks him.
Well, that shouldn't have been Lana's first scene. The first scene with Lana should have been when her coming back at the wedding.
Yeah, that would have been shocking.
Yeah, and then that should have been it for Lana. Instead, they give her this 4-episode arc.
Doomsday and Bride, I thought was handled really well. Like we said before, they kind of they show him from different angles, found footage angles from like other moments, and just like him like flinging Clark through the barn was awesome.
I'm okay. Go.
The problem is though with Lana coming back and her having this arc, like we were starting to see Clark progress a little bit, and then when she comes back for these 5 episodes, it's almost like he just goes back into like moping around mode.
Well, yeah, it's a shame because when Lana comes back, the whole season's plots all pretty much go on.
It's just like dead on a hold.
Yeah, like Lois leaves, like to go take care of Jimmy. Chloe gets kidnapped, and then like Davis, he's in the next episode, but only briefly.
Yeah.
And then he's gone for a while. And Lois is gone for a while. So it's like all the stuff with Clark and Lois gets put on hold, all the stuff with Davis gets put on hold, and instead we just focus on Lana getting like a goodbye arc. But it's like
I mean,
it ruined the pacing of the season for sure.
Yeah. We'll talk about it when we get to Requiem, but I mean the last scene though is kind of actually touching with her and Clark. Yeah. 11 is Legion. I like that one a lot. The
Legion's cool.
Yeah. That was that the one with the chick that played what's her face on Drake and Josh? Mindy? No,
no, that's the Wonder Twins in season 9.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, Legion was the time travelers, the trio.
That's right.
I really like the episode because I mean, in the comics, it's always kind of a thing where the Legion, like they're from the future, where Superman's like an icon.
Yeah.
And they come and hang out with young Clark Kent.
Yeah.
And I liked the way they did it, where it's like Brainiac is this huge threat, and they have to show up. It was very comic booky. And Jeff Johns, this was his first episode writing for the show.
Yeah.
And it felt like a love letter to the comics, essentially.
Right.
It was really good.
So I'm looking at like some of these ratings for like a Friday night, like 4.18 million viewers, like for a Friday.
Yeah, it was doing really well.
Yeah. 12 Bulletproof. That's a weird one.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's kind of just a cop drama.
Yeah. It's like Clark posing as a police officer, right?
Yeah, because John Jones gets shot.
Yeah. Yep. 13, probably the worst episode of the entire series. Worse than Thirst, worse than Wrath.
I don't know if it's worse than exploding baby.
Power.
It is really bad though.
Uh,
You spend the whole episode just watching Lana train with the guy who eventually plays Rick Flag in season 10.
well, it's just like they make her like they give her like body like some like kryptonite induced like
Some nanotech endoskeleton
and then,
bullshit.
and then and then she's going into the whole backstory as to like how she was like forced to like write like film this like goodbye video for Clark, and it's just like
yeah,
like,
that's a weird one.
yeah,
That's
it was really weird. 14 is Requiem. That's a really weird one too. I like the idea that they are like that like Lex is still in the picture.
Right, because the very end of Bride I thought was brilliant, where you see that the found footage was actually found by Lex.
Yeah.
And then he's watching from like you see the back of his head. It's not Rosenbaum, but you see like Lex
Unfortunately
strapped up to all these like tubes, and he's watching the wedding. And like that was a really cool. I was like, holy shit, Lex is still. He might be coming back, but then they never like fully break back
until like, and then like and then like this episode is like Lana. What do they have to do? It's something with like Lex's. I know it's something with
well, Toyman's working for Lex.
Yeah, he comes back. Yeah. And then it's like
this is Toyman's first appearance.
Oh yeah. Toyman, yeah. Chris Gauthier.
His actor was in season 3 as a different character.
That's right. Yeah, and then that's what I was thinking of. And then like, oh, I know what they have to do. They have to like deactivate like a kryptonite bomb or something. And then like that's how Lana like absorbs like the kryptonite.
Yeah.
And it's like they make up like an excuse to like write her off the show, where it's like, oh, like she can't be around Clark because she's got like she's infected with kryptonite. I'm like, oh, but the final scene between her and Clark is actually kind of like sad.
Well, I like that it was a callback to how it started with like her always wearing the meteor rock necklace.
Yeah.
And, like he couldn't go near her. Like I liked that.
Clark, don't.
But like Lex, as far as like sort of being back, like they tried. I don't think they fully pulled it off.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, Lex is still in it, even though Michael Rosenbaum's not. Like they have like a guy with like a mask and like a thing, and you just see like an eye that sort of looks like Rosenbaum, but his voice doesn't really sound like Rosenbaum.
Yeah.
And he does things that I don't think Lex would do. He's like, oh yeah, I did all this to break up your romance or whatever, and I'm just like.
It's like I feel like it was just like him trying to get revenge on like Lana for like season 7, but I'm like,
Sure.
well, like, wouldn't you just do that in season 7 though?
Well, then Oliver blows him up with an exploding monkey, which isn't the best way to kill Lex Luthor. And for a while, I'm like, oh, he survived, but like, no. Based on how he eventually comes back in season 10, Oliver murdered that Lex with an exploding monkey.
15, we get back on track with Infamous, which I think is a great episode, minus Tori Spelling. Is that the one where she comes back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one where she reveals Clark's secret.
Yeah, and then he goes back in time to undo it.
Yeah. It's a cool one. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, because he tells Lois about his secret, and she publishes it, and then he's like, the media is like, it's actually like kind of like a interesting take on like media too.
Mm-hmm.
Like how like the media is just going to surround you if you have like this huge big secret that you haven't told anybody, and and that's eventually what happens. And then he realizes like, oh shit, like, I fucked this up. Like let me go back in time. And then
it's cool too because he's close to finding out about Davis. Like Chloe's gonna tell him that like Davis is like this monster, but then time goes back.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
16. The title is the biggest tease ever.
Dude, that trailer too. I remember like next week on Smallville.
Yeah, the promo.
It was like you're gonna believe a man can fly, or it was like look up in the sky, something like that. It made you think Clark's gonna fly, and it's like you put him on a plane that's gonna explode. I'm like, he's gonna have to fly. It's the only way. And then you watch the episode, and he just grabs Tess and drops like a rock. I'm like, oh, okay.
Prepare for departure.
Did Lex talk to you about me?
He kept a journal.
What did it say?
Losing altitude. Smallville. All new episode next Thursday at 8/7 Central.
And then like that's only like the B plot too. Like the actual plot is this weird. I felt so bad for Jimmy, where he's like in the hospital on pain meds, and like he sees Davis kill someone, and then Davis gaslights everyone and makes them think that Jimmy is lost his mind and a drug addict. Like this is messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an intense episode because Jimmy's just like, "Don't you believe me?" And like, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
17. Hex. Decent one.
Zatanna, yeah.
Zatanna, yeah.
Kind of fun, yeah.
Yeah. 8. Eternal. I love Eternal. Eternal's a really good. Is that the one where like Chloe's like having the nightmare? She wakes up and then like she or like this might be in her nightmare. She like opens the closet and she sees like Clark like ripped in half. Is that this one?
So it's either that or Beast.
Okay.
But this is the one, yeah, where they go back, which I think they do a really good job with actually, where they show Davis arrived during the meteor shower.
Yeah.
And they kind of mix it in, like they show like, oh, Luther's initially took him thinking he was the traveler.
Yeah.
Like I liked all that stuff. I thought that worked really well. And then they actually bring back the whole Naman Kawachi Caves thing where they're like, oh yeah, there's that two-headed bad guy. And we thought it was like Lex, but maybe it's Lionel. Oh no, but now it's literally a two-headed thing because you got Davis and Doomsday. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Now
But,
we
like,
got somewhere there.
yeah, but yeah, I like the way they weaved it in. I thought it actually made a lot of sense with what the show's done before.
Yeah.
Like I like that you see Clark's ship like land, and then like the Kents come and they take the kid, and then there's just like this like goop attached to the ship, and it turns into Davis.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, this is one too where Davis they try to kill him in like the kryptonite cage by like spraying him with like Nickelodeon goo. the slime. And he's like he seems like he's dead, but then it turns out Davis, if he dies, he'll come back and he'll be no longer vulnerable to that. So you just made him even stronger. So
yeah. 19. I hate Stiletto.
Yeah, it's not a good one.
No. Lois is a superhero.
Lois is a superhero, and then the main plot is like these mobsters are like printing fake cash using meteor rocks. Like, stop it.
That makes no sense.
Stop doing this.
20. Beast. That's a really good one.
Yeah, I like that one where Davis is really struggling. He kidnaps like Oliver and Jimmy realizes he's right about Davis.
Yeah.
And then Clark tries to fucking fling Davis into the Phantom Zone, but Chloe's like, no, Clark, you can't do that. And I'm like, what? Like, the last chunk of the season really hurt Chloe as a character.
Yeah.
Because she seemed like an idiot. Like, she hid Davis in her basement.
Yeah.
And then Davis still has to kill people to like keep the beast contained. So then Chloe, there's scenes of her like dragging full trash bags with bodies in them to the dumpster. I'm like, what are we doing? And then like she's trying to help Davis, even though it's like you can't help this guy. And like Clark tries to put him into the Phantom Zone, and Chloe stops him, and she's gonna regret that.
I know, definitely, right? 21. Injustice.
It's a decent one. It's not as good as it should have been.
Yeah,
because they brought back some like Plastique and
then you have like Parasite, Livewire. Who the hell is? I see Neutron, and all I can think of is Jimmy Neutron.
Parasite and Livewire at least are Superman villains, but they don't really do much with them.
Yeah, and then 22, the finale, Doomsday.
This might be the most disappointing season finale of anything I've ever seen.
It's not the worst, but it's disappointing.
It's rough.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
Last time I rewatched, I hate this episode. Like it's stupid decision after stupid decision after stupid decision. Like, where do I even start? Like, the whole season, you've been building up Clark versus Doomsday, Davis versus Clark, like the big fight, like that the Legion are like, oh yeah, this guy's gonna kill you, Clark. We've
Yeah.
seen it. Like,
Because, dude, you know that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to do the death of Superman, but I feel like it was because it was like cable TV. They're like, maybe we can't do this.
well,
But
then they should never have set it up that way.
I know.
Like, if you're gonna spend a whole season building up to like the death of Superman, and you have Doomsday, and you made Doomsday interesting, like you made more possible stakes in that fight than there ever were in the comics for that fight.
Right.
And all of a sudden, they just pull the plug on the whole thing. They're like, the most interesting thing about Doomsday in the show was the fight between Davis and Doomsday,
Mm-hmm.
and like Davis trying to keep that at bay. And
Yeah.
instead of doing something interesting where he could have like embraced Doomsday instead,
Yeah. They split him into two.
they split him into two, which makes no goddamn sense. Like, they're like, oh, black kryptonite, it splits you from your Kryptonian side. That already doesn't make much sense. But it makes even less sense with Davis because Davis was not a real person.
Yeah.
Davis Bloom is a camouflage. He's what the creature is using that became self-aware. But
Yeah.
Davis is fake. He's a disguise. Like,
Yeah.
that's how they explained him before.
Yeah.
And then
it
to
seems like it's
say
just a giant retcon.
you can split them. So now there's the Kryptonian monster and a human man, but Davis was never a human man. He was a monster. Like, he was just a fucking fake thing. They just completely went back on that, and it took out all of the drama, all of the intensity, all of it.
And then when the big fight happens, it's not even like a fight.
It sucks.
It's like
It sucks.
it's like a tackle contest.
It fucking sucks.
And
Especially
then,
when you built it up for a whole season.
and not only that, they recycle the explosion from Justice.
Yeah, it's so cheap. I'm like, guys, I've seen you do better fights on this show. Like, if this was even as good as the Titan and Clark fight from Combat, like something.
Right.
Like, they should have done something. Like, maybe this is the first time Clark flies because he has to fight Doomsday. Like, something. But instead it's, oh, he throws a car at Clark. Okay, he throws a girl into a window and Clark catches the girl. Oh, he punches Clark and then he punches him through a wall and then Clark just tackles him and it's over.
Yeah. And then it's like going back to the whole death of Superman thing. It's like they were afraid to do that with like Clark versus Doomsday, but then they pull the whole thing where he goes to like Watchtower and tells Chloe Clark Kent is dead. So it's like, and then they do that really cheesy effect too, where he walks out of Watchtower and then like he like slowly fades. You know, I was like, no, but it's because they're like the death. It's not like literally the death of Clark Kent.
Oh, metaphorical death of Superman.
Yeah,
so stupid.
Yeah,
like everything in this finale was pissing me
dude.
off. Complete waste of the Justice League, by the way. You brought back Bart Allen for him not to do anything. It just felt like such a waste. I'm like, okay, instead of bringing those guys back, use that money to make the fight better. We should have been saving up budget money for like the past 6 episodes to make that fight really good.
We shouldn't have done Injustice in the last episode.
No, like you should have. If anything, in season 8, you should have delivered on Superman versus Doomsday.
Could you imagine if Injustice and Doomsday were a 2-parter?
I don't even know, because maybe.
I mean, we haven't even touched on like the worst thing.
The worst thing, I can't even. I'm scared to even talk about it because it was so fucking stupid.
Yeah, Jimmy gets stabbed. Okay, I was fine with Jimmy like getting stabbed to an extent because I was like, there was always that rivalry in this season between Jimmy and Davis, where it's like, but like. The thing is it's like at his funeral, they're like, what we knew before was that Jimmy Olsen was James Bartholomew Olsen.
They literally said it on his wedding invitations. That is his full name.
And
as established by the show.
And then at the funeral, the minister's like, Henry James Olsen.
God, I'm angry again, Alex. I'm pissed from like 12 years ago. It's just so stupid. Like,
I don't get why they did that.
apparently DC told them, oh, well, there's such an age difference between Jimmy and Clark in the comics. Eventually that has to be rectified. It's like, why? Why? Like, why can't this be its own thing? Like, why does it have to match up with the comics? Like,
Exactly.
it's so stupid. And the way they handled it, his little brother is standing there with a camera, whose name is apparently also Jimmy Olsen. Like, it's so stupid. I can't believe it's a
It
thing.
at least got like somewhat rectified in the series finale, but
Sort of. Like, I was mostly happy for Aaron Ashmore to at least. I felt bad for him, where he thought he was playing Jimmy Olsen for 3 seasons, and then they go, "Oh, you're a fake. You got killed." I'm like, what? Like, and then like, at least he got to play the little brother grown up. It's still stupid that there's a little brother with the same name who also looks exactly like him when he's older. It's so dumb.
I don't think what happened.
I can't get over this. Like, it's the dumbest thing Smallville ever did.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. And it insults the audience. It's like,
It
oh
makes
yeah.
no sense.
So bad. Like, I was sitting there in disbelief when he got stabbed. First of all, Chloe should have died.
Yeah.
Chloe should have died. She was the one making all the mistakes, trusting Davis. She should have died. Like, Jimmy Olsen is an established member of Superman's cast in all media.
Yeah.
Jimmy Olsen should not die on a show where he's not even Superman yet. Like, so stupid. And Chloe doesn't exist in other Superman media.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, she can die. Like, she had her run, but she made all these stupid mistakes, and now she has to get killed for it. Also, just Davis being a killer.
Yeah.
It randomly. Like, it's like, he seemed like before a guy who was trying to do the right thing.
Right.
But he had to deal with this awful thing in him. And if we're going to pretend like he's not a camouflage and that he has been a person this whole time, that person was a relatively nice guy.
Right.
Was forced to give in to all that evil. But to split them up and to have him still just be like a murderer who's going to like stab Jimmy with like a fucking pipe, like, and then he's going to kill Chloe. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, and I don't know. Just the whole thing.
I remember when that happened. It was like, I was just like, did they just kill Jimmy?
They killed they killed Henry. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
I hated everything. This finale sucks. There's like I look back, I'm like, there's no part of this finale I enjoy. It's all shit.
I mean, yeah, dude, because like the season for the most part, I mean, other than that detour in the middle of the season with Lana,
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's like one of the best seasons.
Yeah. And then like
then
you just end it with like such a sour like finale. It's just like and then dude, I remember too when they set up like Zod at the end. We're just like
ever.
Yeah.
Like you killed Jimmy.
At least it worked in 9. But like
Right.
I remember when they did that though. We're just like Zod again.
Who cares about Zod? Like I was so pissed about Henry James Olsen. I was like, Jesus. And then at least 9 like handled it all.
I love how like I think it was Justin Hartley when they get to like the finale in 9. He's just like, yeah, we know we pissed fans off with the finale of 8, so we're definitely gonna deliver for them.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just don't understand.
I feel like they knew that they fucked up though.
Oh, I'm sure. Like I remember the reaction was not good. People were pissed. Like, and I could have maybe forgiven the Jimmy stuff if the fight had been good.
What was that reviewer's name on Krypton site? Do you remember? That always reviewed like every episode?
Triplet, yeah.
Yeah, Triplet. I wonder what they thought.
I don't think they liked it from what I remember, but that was also like 11 years ago I read the review.
The old Krypton site.
Yeah, it just, what a downer way to end a pretty good season.
I know.
I couldn't believe that's how they did it.
Yeah, I know. I feel like, was it them though, or were they forced to do it like that? Who knows?
I don't know, but I feel like, I know Sam Witwer, like years ago, said he begged them not to do that because he thought it was really not what the characters would have done. Yeah, but he was like, I'm just an actor. I had to go along, but he's like, I don't think Davis would have been like that. But it was stupid. It was all for shock value and stupid.
Yeah.
And they thought they were clever, it felt like, about the Henry James Olsen.
they're subverting expectations for like to better the story, like The Last Jedi. I think did that.
Controversial.
But like, and then there's just shock value for the sake of shock value. Like that's what the end of the season was.
So stupid. Also, how did Jimmy afford the Watchtower?
I know.
How did he buy that?
I don't know.
He has a photographer, like freelance photographer salary. How did he buy a fucking penthouse, like the tallest building in Metropolis? I don't get it. I hate this finale. I hate it so much it almost kills the whole season. Because you're all the greatness of the season is building up to Davis versus Clark, and it does not deliver at all.
No, not at all.
It's rough. It just really hurts that season. I'm like, it's so good, and then
falls on its ass.
Yeah, I don't. It's such a shame.
I'm with you there, man. I think when this first aired, I don't remember hating it, but I remember just being like, that's not what I wanted. Like, I was like, because I had no knowledge of the comics, you know, so I was like, but I knew like Doomsday killed Superman in the comics.
Yeah,
so I was just like, I remember sitting there, and then like Clark doesn't kill him, or Doomsday doesn't kill him rather. I was just like, oh, so Clark just tackled him into a giant explosion, and now Doomsday's dead? I was like, wait a minute. Isn't it supposed to be the other way around? Like,
I don't even mind. I don't think they needed to, like, kill Clark or anything.
Yeah.
But at least make the fight good.
Right.
Like, at least make it a cool fight. But,
right.
Like, how did they film that and think that was, like...
I don't know.
You know, like,
and it looks weird. It doesn't even look like they're like filming in like the city of Vancouver. It just feels like it's studio backlot.
Well, I mean, a lot of Metropolis in these later seasons is the same street over and over, just redressed. That definitely was the studio backlot.
Yeah. But yeah, that's our review of season 8. Final thoughts on season 8. We know it almost died for you.
It's great until it has a lull in the middle, and then it's great again, and then it's awful at the end.
I'm probably the same way, I think. I don't think
it
it's
didn't
like
stick the landing at all.
I don't think it's like anything that kills the season for me, because I can look back on like the previous like 20 episodes or so and be like, yeah, that one's great. That one's great. At least it had like a string of great episodes.
Oh yeah.
Unlike 7, it's
Much
just they didn't stick the landing with the ending. And I feel like we could talk about that ending forever.
I could be pissed. I'm pissed off right now. It's just so disappointing. Even now, I'm like, I just wish it could have been different, and that was so long ago now.
Don't you wish you were like a writer on the show? It was like, guys,
I would, if I had been in that writer's room, I'd be like, and people were like, oh yeah, let's kill Jimmy, and we'll say it's his brother's the real Jimmy. I'd be like, don't do that. Trust me, don't do that. That is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. That's like literally, what's a good example? Oh yeah, Tony Stark dies at Endgame. Don't worry, it's not Tony Stark. That was Henry Tony Stark, and the real Tony Stark is like over there, his little brother.
And it'll eventually morph into Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's stupid. In any story, if you pull shit like that, it's gonna be stupid. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Especially when you give him the same goddamn name. And they had called him Henry, and they had said Henry James Olsen earlier in the show. Maybe I would have been a bit more.
Yeah, I think.
But the fact this season they called him James Bartholomew Olsen at his wedding. You can tell they pulled it out of their ass because they weren't planning that back then.
End of the season's a mess, but
yeah, it is.
But I mean, the rest of the season, it's one of the better seasons. But
oh yeah,
it could probably be top 3 seasons if it wasn't for that ending, though.
It should have. It could have been number 1.
Yeah.
If they had pulled off the ending, it could have been number 1.
Yep. But I'm with you, man. Honestly, like I put 9 and 10 above this one. Honestly.
Yeah, I think they're both are more satisfying by the end.
Right.
Yeah, overall they don't flounder their ending. So
exactly. So that's our review of season 8 of Smallville. We got 2 more seasons to go, and then the big retrospective. So that's going to be a lot of fun, actually. I can't wait to have a huge retrospective. I mean, it'll probably be repetitive because we'll probably talk a lot about like the stuff we've already talked about in the seasons, but we'll just go on for however long we want, So we're getting to that point. Pat, where can they find you?
You can find me at this Pat Guy on Twitter, as well as the Cinemania World podcast, as well as other podcasts that Alex and I are doing, including Jabba's Palace, the Star Wars podcast.
Yep. And you can find me at my official website, alexmaddenmovies.mystrikinglate.com. All my social media links are there. My name is Alex Madden. That is my cousin Pat Guy. We will see you at the movies somewhere.